So thanks everybody for joining us. We have a really packed presentation today. So I'm going to go through some housekeeping stuff and then I'll let our panelists go ahead and talk. So, standard questions. All attendees are muted, but it doesn't mean that I don't want you to interact with us. I would love for you to chat with us and use the Q&A panel. In Zoom, ask your questions as they come in. I'll be interrupting our panelists as they discuss to ask your questions when I feel it's pertinent. If ever we don't get to your question, don't worry about it. We'll follow up with you after the fact, or I might even post some content on LinkedIn answering your questions, depending on what inspiration comes to me. The session is recorded. There's no real slides per se, so we won't be sharing slides with you, but what we will do is share with you the recording after the fact. That should be early next week. So we're just asking you for a few days so that we can edit the video and put it on YouTube. All right, so I'd love to present to you today our distinguished panelists. So Maury, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself today?
Sure. Thanks, Mel, and thank you for having me. I've been working for 30 plus years in the tech startup space as a CEO, as a founder, as a board member, and as an investor. And I've had a lot of successes and a lot of failures. You remember each one of them. For me, what I'm really excited about in my life is focusing on mission-driven companies that really take advantage of data, but data for good.
That's great. Thank you so much, Maury. Jason, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Jason Wortham. I'm out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I didn't put my location in the chat there, but central here in the U.S. I've been in the tech space for a little over 18 years. I tend to focus a lot in tech startups as I love being a part of that early growth stage that I know a lot of the folks on the call here are familiar with from a business startup perspective. My background is sort of a jack of all trades. I specialize in doing a lot of things, which makes me attracted to the startup space. But one of the things that I'm most passionate about is finding unique and creative solutions or innovative solutions to problems that regular people encounter on a daily basis. And we're going to talk a lot about that today and what we do at the Transparency Company. So I'm excited to share that with the call.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Jason. And Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm Michael Yules. I'm the CEO here at GatherUp. I've been leading the company for about 2 years at this point, and I was really attracted to this business and this space because local businesses are really near and dear to my heart. And I've been very excited about helping them build and manage and defend their reputations so that they can build prosperous and exciting businesses that impact local communities around the country and around the world. So it's been an honor to be here and really excited about the conversation today.
Well, thanks, Michael. And myself, my name is Melatia. You probably know me from previous webinars. I'm the VP Marketing here at GatherUp. I've been doing digital marketing since 1997. That does age me quite a bit. I've been in B2B SaaS since 2007. All things SEO, digital marketing. I've seen it all. I've seen the rise and fall of so many search engines, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited about this panel conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will let our 3 panelists take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mel. And again, we have like 70 people on the call live here, which is amazing. So thanks so much for your engagement and your questions throughout. We've got 6 topics that we're going to try to get through today and 1 special offer. And those topics are going to be around the growing problem of fake reviews, the economic impact on consumers and businesses from those fake reviews. We'll talk about the FTC ruling and the regulatory rollout and what we expect to see. We'll talk about what fake reviewers are doing and how to spot some of those tactics. And then we'll talk about what your customers are likely asking either the Transparency Company or the internet or others about so that you can be prepared to have those conversations. And then we'll talk about what you can do as a digital marketing agency about fake reviews in order to protect your business and your clients. And then stay tuned for the end. We've got a special offer at the end that we'll be unveiling and really excited about that and the partnership between GatherUp and the Transparency Company. So stay tuned to the end and looking forward to the conversation. So we are here ultimately because reputation matters for local businesses and for the digital marketing agencies that serve them. And reviews are critical to an online reputation and to a consumer's buying journey. We've done a ton of research on this in our Beyond the Stars research last year that we'll be refreshing. But almost 100% of people read online reviews before making a purchase decision. 85% of consumers feel a degree of trust in online local business reviews. 59% of consumers are spending more time reading reviews than they were 5 years ago. And just most people consult online before calling a business, and having a poor reputation can really stop people in their tracks. So reviews are really important. Reputation is really important. We all know that, but there is a problem, a growing problem in this market, that around 20 to 25% of online reviews, high level estimate by the transparency company, are considered or estimated to be fraudulent. And so that has been mind-blowing and eye-opening to see and learn more about. And I've been lucky to have kind of more one-on-one conversations with you, Maury, and Jason, and the rest of the team at the Transparency Company about this. And so I'd appreciate it if you could share a little bit about your journey coming to the Transparency Company, what you've learned about this problem as you've dug in more to it.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And by the way, it's been great getting to know you better and the team at GatherUp. I mean, it's been a really fun journey. Just for the audience, Michael sent me and our founder Curtis Boyd a note probably a few months back. Well, it was before Thanksgiving, I remember, and it was just really, really funny to see that you and I just actually live blocks away from each other. So, we've had this, really unusual post-COVID experience where we just happen to be in the same place, same zip code, and been able to get to know each other. And, as an investor for the past, I'd say 6 months, I've been really thinking about different opportunities. My initial focus is, like everybody else in the investment world, is focusing on AI. And so when someone essentially made a pitch to me to get interested in Curtis Boyd's Transparency Company, to me it was just kind of a yawn. It's like, yeah, okay, I get that it could be an issue, but this isn't really something that really interested me initially. But I don't know how many people on the call, and I know you, Michael, just have a budding relationship with Curtis, but he's got to be one of the most persistent people in the world. I mean, he just really beat it home to me that, this isn't just a passing issue. This is a fundamental problem in our economy that is frauding consumers to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. And, we'll talk about specifics later on, but I think if unchecked, this could be $1 trillion fraud issue before we know it. And by the way, before the call here, I did look up on ChatGPT, what are the most fraudulent industries out there? And, there's bank fraud, which is 500 million, tax fraud, which is about 600 million. So this issue with online reviews in less than, let's say, 5 years has bubbled up to this level of fraudulent activity, when these other industries have probably had, upwards of 100 years to do it. So, I think this is something that is really interesting and something that, I want to be a part of, is someone who wants to be part of data for good solutions as opposed to using data for fraudulent activities. Just a little bit more about, kind of our views on the world is that, a lot of people look at a review and they look at it through the lens of, is this a bad review that I don't like and I want to get rid of it? Or is this a good review and I love it? And what we're really out here to do is just to, almost like the scales of justice, to weigh which reviews are legitimate and which ones are suspicious. We're not interested in dealing with someone's review they don't like. That's not our game. I mean, our game is integrity. We want to build integrity in the system and restore it to the review marketplace.
I love that. And I think, what's really exciting is we try to do things at GatherUp the right way and make sure that we are committed to compliance, and making sure that people are able to build a great reputation that they earn, understand what their customers are saying about them, and gather that feedback both from a third-party online review perspective and first-party surveys type of information. and really hold that near and dear to our mission. And so we're really excited about kind of the integrity focus that you have, and that was one thing that drew me to the transparency company. And you mentioned the economic impact, and some of those numbers are staggering, but this is like clearly a really huge problem. And one of the things that you all did, I think late last year, was run an annual economic harm study. And could you share a little bit more about the findings there? And maybe Jason, if you've put in the chat, where people can find it for
Yeah,
reference
sure. I
too.
was going to say that the actual report itself is online, and it's got a ton of nuggets in there that I think the audience would love to read and learn more about. But I think the net impact is we captured the data on this, commissioned the study and captured the data in February or March of last year, and then the researchers kind of extrapolated from the surveys that they had run. But it was just staggering that in 3 industries alone, home services, medical services, and legal services, the economic harm exceeded $300 billion. And I just, in my intro here, I said, hey, this problem, these old industries are at this level. So just kind of show you where we are today. And when you break that down to a household level, it's about $2,500 per household in the US that is defrauded in some way. And, when I think about it, I think that's someone's vacation money, that's someone's home improvement project. There's all these things that they could be doing as opposed to being defrauded by customers because of this problem that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think from our perspective, like the impact I see also is the trust erosion in the market. I've seen stats around that say, 30% of consumers trust reviews as much as personal recommendations, which is a big flip-flop from just a couple of years ago. And that percentage of customers who say that they trust reviews as much as personal recommendations from friends or family is decreasing over time. And I think that's reflective of some of the trends that we're seeing in the market, where people, if you actually sort and look and try to find information in some of these reviews, you start to see like, okay, maybe this isn't, as transparent or helpful or trustworthy as they had hoped. And so I'm excited about, attacking that. And, given how big of a problem this is, we saw the FTC come out with their ruling at the end of last year, banning fake reviews and putting some pretty high penalties on businesses that take advantage or try to use this tactic to the tune of like $50K per review, which is kind of business ending for some of these small businesses.
It could be, yes.
But when most people think of fake reviews, they think of like negative reviews or irrelevant reviews or spam reviews on Facebook. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're seeing and how else fake reviews are showing up in the market to create so much economic impact and get such a big regulatory reaction.
Yeah, I want to also address the issue you brought around trust, because I've noticed my own behavior since I've learned more about this. Frankly, I don't trust rankings. I don't trust it at all, because I know how people are using fake 5-star reviews, which happens to be the largest problem. Fake 5-star reviews to distort SEO. I mean, we all know this. I mean, everybody on this call understands, at least at a basic level, that people are buying fake 5-star reviews in bulk, and they're doing it to, number one, distort SEO, but also to make it look like as a business they're potentially a lot more mature than they already are.
Yeah.
We have a client where they had us run scans in 30 locations for them, and came back, there was about 100 fake or suspicious 1-star reviews, but the 5-star reviews, Michael, 20,000.
Wow.
20,000. I mean, it's just, astounding. And I think, when I think about the review process, when I think about a review, it's really an advertisement. It's like when I was in college and I waited tables, we would, we'd leave the comment cards and you read it, you get good feedback, but that's just internal to you. I mean, the genius behind reviews, if done properly, is that these are advertisements that people can read about their experience with a product, a service, or whatever. Incredibly insightful. I mean, it's one of the gifts of the internet age. Obviously, though, that gift can be distorted in ways that fraud consumers. This isn't a new problem, by the way. I mean, the Better Business Bureau was founded in 1912 on the basis to help combat fraudulent ads in the newspaper. So, newsflash, up here we are in 2025. It's just a more tech-centric version of the problem done at scale. I think that as we move on into, I mentioned that AI was kind of the buzzword and something I was really interested in. But I think if we look at these search engines that are, using large language models and other tools to basically rank these service providers, we're going to see a whole new level of potentially fraudulent activity. So, we just need to be armed and be ready for the things the bad actors throw at us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see a question in the chat here, just around like, is this discussion that we're having kind of restricted to Google reviews alone? And I think you guys are focused on Google and the research that you're talking about now, but obviously have plans beyond that.
Sure. Yeah, we're happy to talk about, the other, for us, we're a startup, so it's, we're resource dependent, and, such a large percentage. Jason, what have we seen as far as like, our belief as far as the percentage of online reviews out there? It's probably 80%. Am I right?
Yeah, there's been plenty of research published that shows that Google is the predominant player in the market when it comes to online reviews for businesses, specifically small businesses. You've got the Yelps and the Trustpilots and the Trust Advisors and others out there, and we do have plans to expand to those in the very near term. But to Maury's point, we're focusing on sort of the biggest fish in the pond in this case with Google. But the conversation applies across all of them. We certainly do know the same problems persist, the same tactics and methodologies that exist in Google exist in Yelp and exist in the other platforms, despite those platforms maybe saying and doing things that they believe, like trusted reviews on Yelp and things along those lines. Even then, it's not. A little bit more for show than it is actually solving the root cause of the problem.
So
yeah, I agree.
We have a question here from Kevin. It's partly a statement and then a question. So Kevin says, having Google do anything to remove reviews is next to impossible, and Yelp will only pay attention if you're paying them. Review sites like Trustpilot are completely pay to play. So in reality, is there actually anything actionable that can be done? And how do we define a review done properly?
Well, yeah, I think we can, we'll talk about that a lot in this presentation, because I think the one thing that Jason and I have learned, and by the way, we didn't mention this in our intro, but Jason and I have worked together at various startups for 15 plus years. So, Jason's the little whippersnapper smart guy, and, I'm the old guy with a lot of gray hair. But what we've seen from the market and how Google responds to things when you do dispute a review is you can't just say, and I think a lot of people aren't able to articulate what's wrong with the review. They aren't able to articulate anything other than, well, I don't like what it says. You can't focus on what it says. You have to focus on the underlying metrics on why it is a quote unquote suspicious review, and then let them be the judge. So a lot of times people are, customers that we talk to will focus on one or two specific reviews. We holistically look at all of the reviews and take a strategy around that, as opposed to just one-offs. I hope that helps.
Thank you. We've got some more questions, but I'll hold them for later.
Sure.
Yeah, great questions. Keep them coming, and it's fun to see that, we'll be able to touch on some of them going forward. And I think before we get into sort of the FTC and their ruling, like one other thought just to kind of close the book on how to think about fake reviews. Like, I think from a digital marketing agency perspective, the customers that I'm talking to who are really focused on like building reputation the right way with their customers, managing, engaging with their customers, responding to reviews, understanding what they're saying, making changes in the business, with the outcome ultimately being, better search rankings and more conversions and more business. Digital agencies really want to pay close attention to this issue, because if you're trying to win the right way, you need to ensure that your competitors are playing fair too. And so, with our goal to help them win, we wanted to make sure that we were keeping competitors, in line. And when I talk to leaders like Joy Hawkins mentioned on one of our webinars before, she won't work with agency, or she knows agencies that will not work with clients that don't have a review strategy. We know how important it is, and how important it is to make sure that others are playing fair as well. So with the FTC ruling last year, it might feel like, not much has changed. You haven't seen any headlines, et cetera, et cetera. Now that the FTC has ruled, you've got a bit of background in government space. Can you explain a little bit about how you see regulation actually rolling out in this space, Maury?
Yeah, sure. And, thanks for that lead in. I think that the FTC ruling is a massive win for our space and our industry. And thank you to anybody on the call who provided content and service to make that a reality. I know on our end, Curtis Boyd did, a lot of calls and a lot of in-person meetings and testimony at the FTC about the problem and help shape the solution. But what we have now from the FTC is really a framework for, how they believe that companies should behave around this review process, a framework and rules. And so those rules, in my view, will be adopted down to state level agencies and local agencies as they put together their rules and regulations around, how they believe that they can pick up fraud and take action on behalf of consumers in their jurisdictions. And this isn't just from what we see on our end, this isn't just a US issue. This is an international issue. I would say when we have a steady stream of leads coming in, people interested in our products and services, at least 50% of those are coming from overseas clients in Europe, in the Middle East, and other places around the world, Australia, that are super interested in kind of ferreting out these issues and coming up with solutions and legislation that will help solve the problem.
That's super helpful. And how do you see the sort of state and local governments implementing these changes now that there's that federal guideline?
Yeah, so you take the state of California licensing board, the contractor licensing board, how they operate. They have a charter, they have rules and ethics that have put in place. So this, governments, that they don't really want to reinvent the wheel a lot of times. They're just going to take the framework that the FTC put in place and adopt those rules and regulations into their codes. Mm-hmm. And what I would suggest and strongly suspect will be the case is that they'll actually add on. So we as an industry will have a chance to sound off to, for example, the state of California Contractor Licensing Board on other issues that we think might be relevant to their specific rules and regulations on how contractors will operate. I think that I just can't say enough about the huge win this is for us to basically have this framework in place, because now it will roll down very quickly, I believe, to the state and local agencies.
I think the transparency company is unique in that it's working alongside those agencies, and I'm curious to hear how you think this problem is going to be solved in practice. I think you've drawn interesting comparisons in our conversations between financial audits and review audits. Could you elaborate on that idea?
Yeah. I think, we're going to get a lot of questions today about Google and, how come, whether they don't take things down, how come they can't ferret out all the fake reviews? And really, I think a lot of us kind of look sometimes, Google has its issues, but I think it's kind of unfair to, point the blame all on them. And yet another reason, why, I'm excited to have the government involved in this. But what I see is what we need industry-wide is a certification program. And that's one of the things that we're announcing, with GatherUp, and what we're doing is a certification program that we're putting in place that essentially reviews a company's online reviews and puts a stamp of approval on it. This is, in the analogy here that, I've drawn with you many times, Michael, is, fortunately or unfortunately, whenever I'm on a board of a company, this just kind of happens. You get branded. I always get put on the audit committee, which is generally considered in a organization the last place you want to be, because it's the least reward with the highest risk. But a financial, an audit committee basically is there to review the financial audits of the business to make sure that it's a representation to investors in the industry that this company is basically follows the rules and regulations of, the U.S. government, the Security Exchange, and everybody else. All the rules of state and local agencies, they do everything they audit everything to make sure that this is a legitimate practice. And so what I'm suggesting in our certification program is kind of a mirror of that, where we do an initial scan. We basically, for lack of a better word, we take a look at the books. We present, someone with, hey, here's a list of issues. We educate them on the FTC ruling, and then they sign basically an attestation that says, hey, we don't operate that way. It's the exact same thing as what we do in a financial audit. And when you think about our country and the, kind of the economic power that we have, it really rests on the integrity of our financial system, right? I mean, the financial system, the integrity of it rests on the audits that are underneath and underpinning it. And I believe in the advertising space, what we're in, the authenticity of the reviews in this space are paramount to our long-term success.
Yeah. And what's interesting about a financial audit or any of these types of audits that happen is like, there are oftentimes findings, right? And so, if you're running a company, you have to submit your taxes, you have to go through these audits. And sometimes people will say, hey, you did this, you really should do that. And you go back and you fix it and you kind of make sure that you are operating in best practices. And so I think like, you might think of an audit as a company as being like, oh, shoot, like, I don't know if I want to do that because I don't know what the outcome's going to be. But really, ultimately, this is about like, how do you build the best business possible, and how do you represent your company to the market?
Well, you can't get a bank loan. You can't do hardly anything without a financial audit. That's just the reality. And so to have these businesses, present their reviews in some type of audited format is only going to strengthen our system. It's not going to weaken it. Obviously, there will be people who don't want to participate, but we hope there's strength in numbers. And, we'll be able to get, critical mass here and basically solve the last mile of this problem. Because Google can solve 90% of the problem, but that still leaves tens of millions of fake reviews out there. And so it's really up to us as industry leaders to restore integrity of the system by putting programs in place like this.
Yeah.
And so that's what we intend to do.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to, the quick sneak peek, but be able to help customers go through this process, customers of GatherUp go through this process and take advantage of it for free and make sure that they have the visibility that they deserve and can make changes as needed. So I'm really excited about that. And, I think of it as like, when you buy a car, you get a Carfax, and you kind of have to trust it. And so when you work with a service provider, you want to see and make sure that their reviews that you're making a decision based off of are legitimate. And so I'm excited about helping people be able to present that to their potential customers.
It's really interesting, the Carfax analogy. I'll tell you a little fun fact. It's I'm around entrepreneurs almost 24/7, and Curtis's initial vision for Transparency Company was Carfax. It's that you would effectively go online and buy a report on a company to see if their reviews were suspicious or legitimate. It was an interesting idea, but I think the model that we put in place now supersedes that, and we'll get enormous benefit for this industry.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit here and peel the curtain back for folks and help them understand, like, what do fake reviewers do? So we know that there are lots of fake reviews when we're talking about that a lot, but oftentimes it's hard to understand, like, okay, how does this actually happen in practice? And I think it's really interesting to learn a little bit more about how these fraudulent reviews are created and how businesses do it. So I'd love to ask you, Jason, to kind of help the audience understand a bit about the tactics that exist out there and some examples of these things that you've seen and how the transparency company thinks about going about identifying suspicious reviews. So I'll pass it over to you, Jason.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. And Mel, I think we have a slide for this because I knew this topic was gonna come up on the call. So I highlighted a couple of what we call metrics with regards to methods and tactics used by businesses and or the organizations that they hire to help facilitate fake or fraudulent reviews on their business listings. And these four are the ones that I think are kind of like the most fun and the ones that are the most predominant. But we have a library of like 25 plus core metrics, as we refer to them, that are identifying things like these. These are just four of them. And then there's ancillary or complementary metrics that we dive into when any of these metrics are flagged on a business. But some of the more common examples and the ones that are certainly the most interesting, review pods. And this is what we refer to the situation that exists where businesses, fake review providing service providers, they have what we call cohorts of fake profiles. And these contributor profiles, which is what we refer to as the authors of the reviews or those that leave ratings on a business, they have an army of those profiles. And when client X comes to them and says, I'd like to buy 500 fake reviews, they use that army of fake profiles to write those reviews. Well, of course, over time, we tend to see the same clusters of people, those cohort groups, writing reviews for all of the same businesses, aka the clients of those businesses. And we call those review pods. And they obviously, people like I go to the same businesses as other people in my community and we cross paths and leave reviews. But where this manifests itself in the most obvious of situations is when the reviews that these people are leaving are all being left on the businesses on the exact same day at roughly the exact same time. So I'd be reviewing a massage parlor in Dallas, Texas, a hotel in California, and a restaurant in Tampa, Florida. And all three of those reviews are written at the exact same time on the exact same day. Right? That's an immediate red flag for us. And that would flag the review pod metric as being in violation. And that would be a red flag for us to dive more deeply into some other ancillary or complementary metrics that go alongside a review pod. Gen AI, and actually a question was asked a little bit earlier in just a webinar chat, can Gen AI help us identify fake reviews? It absolutely can. In fact, we have trained a model internal based off of tens of thousands of reviews that can detect if a review itself has been written using a Gen AI solution like a ChatGPT or a Grok or a Gemini or Meta AI. We can detect those and we score every written review out with a Gen AI score and the likelihood in which that review is written by generative AI. Now, a Gen AI review is actually not a violation of Google Maps user-generated content policy. However, it is in violation of the new FTC ruling that came down in October that Michael and Maury were talking about a little bit earlier. So we, of course, look at those to help our customers understand if they're in good standing with the FTC ruling, but it, of course, can be an indicator to a larger underlying fraudulent situation. Certainly, if a singular contributor's reviews are consistently written using AI, that is a common tactic. And to parallel the question of can AI help us identify reviews, it absolutely can, but there's a double edge to that sword in that AI can also help fake review providers write way more reviews that look way more authentic and are more nuanced at scale, at a much cheaper price point, right? So we've actually seen a significant increase, and this is included in that research paper that we mentioned in the comments, where you've seen a proliferation of generative AI generated reviews because they can do this at scale without having to have people manually write them. And of course, they can say, hey, customer, what reviews would you like me, keywords, would you like me to infuse into that review? What are the buzzwords in your industry? And one of the underlying ancillary metrics for this, we also have Gen AI, is keyword stuffing. So we're looking for keywords that are reused over and over and over on reviews. So Gen AI is another really unique one. What we call suspicious contributors. Contributors in Google Maps and on all review platforms, they of course build a history over time. If I've written 500 reviews in Google Maps, there's a track record of that, right, inside of Google Maps. However, if those reviews are found to be in violation of Google Maps terms of service, if they're found to be suspect or fraudulent, and they are removed out of Google Maps, that little tally mark of a removed review or a removed rating is held against your quote unquote contributor permanent record. So that's one of the things we look at. We essentially look at your review history as a contributor. And if we see a track record of a lot of reviews getting removed, you have a history of, past infractions, we're going to take that into account when we're looking at all of the other reviews and all of the other metrics, right? So you're starting to lose credibility and deteriorate your legitimacy from a review perspective. And again, that triggers a lot of other sub analytics. And then anonymous contributors, there's a relatively obscure privacy setting that's buried in Google Maps where a contributor can flag that they don't want their reviews to be seen by others in the Google Maps community. Now, what that means is you as a business owner and me as a user of Google Maps, if I go to a business that you've left a review on, I can see that Jason Wortham reviewed this business, said this, gave it this star rating. But if I went and looked at Jason Wortham's profile, it would say Jason hasn't written any reviews, or he has opted to remain anonymous for security reasons and hide his review history. So you can't see all of the other reviews he's written. Now, if you happen to stumble across another business listing where I've written a review, you would see my name there and you would see the review I left. This flagging your profile as anonymous is only done by about 4% of Google Maps users worldwide. So knowing that, when we see the anonymous contributor criteria flagged at a high ratio on a business, because of course, fake review writers are going to flag this because they think it's going to help hide their suspicious contributor history or hide their track record for things like review pods, even though it doesn't. They think that gets away. So it's one of those things where like, hey, this person wants to be anonymous. So again, it's one of those things, just a little tick on the record. And these and all of our other metrics come together to tell a story about this contributor, their review, and then aggregate about the reviews for a given business. So if a business has a lot of reviews that are written by Gen AI and written by suspicious contributors that have opted to be anonymous, and they match a review pod for 5 other dental practices in the city, that's a red flag, right? And we use all of this data to build the case. And then it's that data that we then present to the review platforms like Google Maps to make a more substantiated case that isn't based entirely on what Google Maps might perceive is a subjective response from the business owner that's like, I don't like this review. We say, we don't care about the review. We care that this review is showing all of these really suspect signs. And that's the case that we're making to Google Maps. And that's why we tend to have such an incredibly high takedown rate, as we refer to it, for having reviews and ratings successfully removed off of not only our customers' businesses, but also off of competitors.
So,
Jason, sorry, Matt, I was going to point out, I think that it's worthy here that these are just 4 examples, Jason, but we have over 20 today that we're tracking.
Yep.
And every single day there's new issues that are popping up. I mean, the bad actors out there aren't sitting still. They're coming up with new ways to scam the review process. And so what we're doing is constantly coming up with new metrics to basically, circle the wagons and catch more bad actors. Sorry, Mel.
No problem.
Absolutely more.
So, Jason, I think you answered Alan and Kevin's question, but I'm just going to go through it really quickly and they can signal to me if they feel you've answered their question. So Alan said that do you think platforms like Google are doing enough to detect and remove fake reviews, especially those that look real, that feel real? And so to me, you answered by saying, yes, we look at a pattern. We report back an entire package instead of just looking at a specific review. We'll show patterns and bring back data to help support and substantiate this. So I feel, Alan, that answers your question.
Yeah, real quick on that, Mel.
Sure.
Alan, and to a point, Kevin's earlier question as well would be, do I think Google Maps is doing enough? Of course not. At the same time, I'm kind of okay with it because I wouldn't be here and Transparency Company wouldn't exist if they didn't. Not to say I love that they're doing it, but you have to remember that Google Maps customers aren't the reviewers, the people that use Google Maps as like a consumer. It's the businesses that are paying for advertising revenue, and they're paying for sponsored ads, and you're paying for LSAs, and you're PPC advertising, et cetera. So they want to drive traffic and engagement on their platform, and that's what reviews do, right? They tend to remove negative reviews based on our history. They remove negative reviews way more frequently and with a higher rate of pace than they do positive reviews, because removing positive reviews from off of a business creates concern and consternation, and then they have to deal with that, right? So they try and not rock the boat too much in terms of removing fake positive reviews, but unfortunately, of the fake reviews that exist in Google Maps, an overwhelming majority, in the range of 90 to 95% of fake reviews that exist in Google Maps are actually fake positive reviews, not fake negative reviews. And because they don't want to rock the boat and disrupt their customer, the businesses, by removing fake competitor, 5-star, 4-star reviews, that's where I would love to see them take more action. They don't want to adjust their own criteria, because if they make it too hard to get reviews, then that opens up complaints from businesses from the other angle, which is to say, my customer said they left a review, but I don't see it showing up on my business. And you might have had your customers experience that same problem. Well, it's because their review got filtered out by Google Maps. So they're trying to balance that, and I can understand that argument. Could they do more? Absolutely. But if you're going to wait around for Google to do more to fix this problem, you're probably going to be waiting a very long time, and you're never going to be satisfied with that solution.
Yeah. And I guess for Kevin, talking about fake reviews from disgruntled independent contractors or former employees, that does go against the terms of service for Google anyways. And it also breaks the FTC rules, because you cannot review the business you work for without at least disclosing that you work for them.
Correct. And we do have metrics. The metrics we're of course talking about heavily today are fraud focused metrics. We do have a whole library of metrics that are focused on just strictly those reviews that violate the terms and service of the review platform they're being posted on. When you present Google Maps with those, they take those down almost instantly, because you're violating their rules very acutely, right? Using profanity or an unrelated or off-topic review, politically focused review, et cetera. That's why you tend to see like the review flash mobs when a business gets put on a news channel. They tend to address those really, really quickly because they can identify those really acutely.
Yeah, I think we have a lot more content to go through. We have a lot of questions, though. Yeah. So I'm going to hold the questions for now and let you continue. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Well, all of this is to say, and these 4 examples, to Maury's point, it's just a tip of the iceberg of all of our metrics. All of these examples are just to say that we're looking to make a data-driven, metrics-based determination on the legitimacy of a review's existence on a platform, and essentially making the case to Google Maps and other online platforms to say, this review needs to come down for these reasons, right? And you essentially try to make that case indisputable in order to get them to take action more quickly than if it's just a business complaining, right? They have to look at it. We come at it, and when we report reviews, by the way, to Google Maps, for example, we don't say, hey, I'm reporting these reviews to you on behalf of company X. No, we say the Transparency Company, have identified these reviews, and here's the reasons why we believe these reviews should come down. We never at any point mention who our end customer or customers are. We position ourselves as like a watchdog of sorts.
Thank you.
I'll take a pause there.
I appreciate you going through that in such detail, Jason. I think it's just really fascinating to hear about everything that and all the metrics that are going into this. I think you could potentially try to attack this problem going one by one, considering these problems. But I think the solution that you guys have put together is extremely powerful in bringing everything into one specific solution. And I'm excited about marrying it with the GatherUp platform and making sure that, again, you can build, manage, and defend your client's reputation. So really excited to get to that portion of the presentation. But before that, just quickly, one of the things that I think is interesting and helpful for people who are running digital marketing agencies or even the end customers themselves, like what are you hearing from end customers when you have conversations, Jason, when they come to the transparency company and they're asking about fake reviews, like why are they coming for help, and what are the things that our clients, mostly digital marketing agencies, should be aware of in terms of what they will want to kind of understand?
Yeah, there's a couple of sort of key sort of persona traits that drive customers to the transparency company and the services and solutions that we offer. One, and of course the most obvious, is just an acute problem. Someone has left a 1-star review. I can't verify that they are a customer. They're saying things that aren't accurate or reflective of what our business even actually does, or maybe it's the Roto-Rooter truck cut me off in traffic, and right, like that's a review that actually violates Google Maps terms of service, and we can dispute that, make a case around that. If they tend to have a very acute problem that's driving them, Jason Brown gives a great example in the webinar chat, right? There's the review hostaging situation is another problem, but that's an acute problem on their business listing that we can help address and resolve. The other very common reason that businesses come to us is because they have a very, very, very strong belief that a competitor is cheating, right? They have a brand new competitor that just entered the market, within weeks, and they already have 500 reviews. How is that even possible, right? Our solution can be brought into the fold and audit that business as a competitor of your own business and say, yeah, look, one of our metrics is review velocity. So we're looking for anomalous, velocity or reviews being received over the life of that business. So we would analyze that, and that's a tipping point indicator or core metric that identifies others. So the suspicion of a competitor, but Google Maps makes it very difficult to dig out the things that power our metrics, whether intentionally or otherwise. They kind of obfuscate a lot of this information, and it makes it very hard and very time consuming to chase this stuff down. So the folks that are on this call, rather than spending all of your time chasing leads and trying to do all of this research, you can come to us. We can do that audit for you, essentially give you the firepower that says, here's why the review is what it is. Here's why we believe this. Yeah, your suspicion is right. And go at it from that angle. Another very common reason is just a lack of record keeping / transparency. As great as Google, business profile, GBP management tools can be, they still lack a lot of visibility and transparency into what's going on with your reviews. And that's, of course, where players like GatherUp come in to help provide some of that. And it's also where we can come in to help provide it from the legitimacy and authenticity perspective, as well as for competitors. One of the biggest examples of that is, what a lot of, I'm sure, people on the call experienced in early February when Google Maps rolled out a new update to the Google Maps app, if you will. And in doing so, introduced a bug that caused everyone's review counts to be off in total. Whether during that experience or if you've ever experienced having a review removed by Google Maps from off of your business, they don't do a very good job of telling you which review they removed or why. Our system catalogs all of your reviews from the moment your subscription starts. So when a review is removed, we have that record. Look, this review was removed on this day. And we saw that it was on the fence of being suspicious, so that could have been the catalyst for removal. But we at least know, we can tell you one of your 5-star reviews were removed. Here's when that review was written and by whom it was written by, and when it was removed out of Google Maps. So being able to provide a level of transparency, even into your own business's doings as it relates to reviews, which, as we've talked about on this call, are so critical to the success of many businesses, as well as your competitors, which again is a level of insight that so few organizations and service providers are able to give, is something that we believe is really valuable. And in general, one of the things that kind of comes more of a byproduct, they don't realize they need this until they have it, and now they don't want to lose it, is just an agency in this whole ordeal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only this additional visibility and confidence that I actually now know what's happening with my reviews and with what's going on in the competitive landscape around me, but I now have the ability to go on the offensive, right? I can actually, either myself or through the Transparency Co., take action and go do something about the problem instead of waiting for Google Maps to do something about it, right? Or waiting for, or throwing money at the problem and spending much more on advertising and PPC and LSAs to try and outspend the competitors that are out there pumping their profiles full of fake reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for walking through those things, Jason. I think it probably resonates with some of the things that agency owners and operators are hearing, but excited to be able to present a solution for those problems that you're hearing. And I think like ultimately, the next steps for digital agencies and business owners on this call and just in general to kind of protect their reputation is, you want to analyze your reviews. You want to get a review certification, and by the way, no cost through the GatherUp partnership, and make sure that you are kind of attesting to your practices. And then you also want to make sure you're analyzing your competitors' reviews. And I think those are some three concrete steps that folks can take, and we're excited to help them with that. So we've got 3 questions in Q&A. The chat is still going. We will get to those questions. And before we do, I just want to make sure that we follow up on our promise at the beginning with a really exciting, special introduction and offer for those who are listening today. And so let me share my screen really quickly here, and we will go through this exciting announcement. So as part of our partnership that we're announcing to help build and defend reputations together, within GatherUp, we are going to be embedding the Transparency Company reports within our reporting session. And so you can, as an agency owner, help your clients easily build, manage, and defend your client's reputation in one place with GatherUp. And so the Transparency Company reports are going to be within the platform. You'll have 1 year of free access for the True Review certification and monitoring. And you'll also have opportunity for a premium subscription for monitoring competitors, as well as going through the automatic dispute process. And I'm really excited about this, and the agencies that I've spoken to have been really excited about this, because ultimately reputation matters for the end business as well as for the digital marketing agency. And if your client's competitors are cheating, then your clients are going to be at a disadvantage, and ultimately your success as an agency is going to be threatened. And so through this offering, through GatherUp and the Transparency Company, we're excited to present that holistic reputation management solution for you and your clients, that will help you improve results for your clients as well as your agency by defending your clients' reputations. And because it is an exclusive partnership with the reputation management offerings, I'm really excited to be able to help people on this call differentiate against their competitors with this exclusive offering and holistic solution. So I want to share a little bit about what it's going to look like and give you a sneak peek before giving you a QR code to scan and sign up for the beta offering to get access as soon as possible. So what it's going to look like is this. And again, this is available for all current GatherUp customers. Your client will go through the True Review certification process, confirming that they don't use fake reviews. They can show that off to their prospects as a part of their sale process. And you'll see in the top left the green check mark passed, assuming that you've passed and how long you've been protected against. There's a question in the chat around how often the scan is performing. The scans are performing constantly for suspicious profiles and suspicious reviews, because those profiles may not appear suspicious in one moment in time, but then a month later, they've done a bunch of things that are suspicious. And so it may be flagged as suspicious later on. So that scan is constantly running. You'll be able to have an overview of any suspicious reviews on your business's profile broken down by how many reviews, what's suspicious, what's in dispute, what's been removed, etc. You'll be able to see how many are suspected to be written by AI. And you'll also see, importantly, the impact, the impressions impact of those reviews, whether they are impressions on legitimate reviews, impressions on suspicious reviews, and then same thing for positive and negative, which is really, really interesting to be able to see and be able to make sure that you're making a positive impression. And then last but not least, on the far right side, you'll be able to understand how any profiles are suspicious, if they are marked suspicious. So if they only have one review, or they're anonymous profiles, like you mentioned, Jason, or they've had many reviews removed in the past. And so you'll be able to get this really clear insight into your client's Google business profile and the reputation and suspicious nature of any reviews. Then, if you are able and want to upgrade to the premium offering, that's where the dispute capabilities and being able to look at competitors comes into play. And so you'll see in the top on the middle, there's a reviews and dispute. And so this will be summarizing how many fake reviews or fraudulent reviews have been disputed. And again, the transparency company is submitting a first report, and then a second report, and then a third report, and continuing to get feedback and continuing to flag what they think is fraudulent and update the data and the case. And so you'll be able to see where those reviews stand and the ultimate sort of outcomes from that. On the competitor side, you'll have access to an overview of all of your competitors, and you'll be able to add up to 15 within your area. And you'll be able to see which of your competitors are passing and which of your competitors are failing according to the same metrics that your business is being evaluated on. And you'll be able to click into those competitors to see the details on their profile. And so what that will look like is the same report that you looked at for your business, but for your competitors. So again, constantly scanning suspicious profiles, you'll be able to see which reviews are in dispute and the impact over time of how those disputes have transgressed. You'll be able to see the same breakdown in terms of active reviews, suspicious reviews, in dispute, what's been removed, be able to see which ones are suspected to be written by AI, and again, the impressions impact based on those reviews, as well as an understanding of the profiles and why they are suspicious. So we're really excited to bring this to GatherUp customers and be able to share it with you all. And so as part of staying to the end, which I really appreciate, we want to give you first access to sign up for the waitlist and get access to this offering. And so scan this QR code, fill out the form, and we will be in touch with you as soon as possible in order to get you access. And we'll be sharing this as part of the recording and next steps. I will leave this page up so you can scan and submit while we answer some questions. So I've seen the chat blowing up. I think there's some Q&A. Mel, I'll let you take it away and lead us through that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. You know what? A lot of really positive reactions in the chat. People are just, wondering where it's available in GatherUp. Everybody, even if you're an existing GatherUp customer, you do need to sign up for the beta. We do have our customer conference coming up in May, which you'll be hearing about soon. But for now, if you want to have access, we do recommend that you fill out the form and we will reach out to you. Or if you have if you have your own customer success agent, of course, recommend that you bring it up with them as well. Okay, so I've got a question here from Sita Raman. He asks, or she asks, what is the recommended way for a chain of retailer to have what is recommended for a chain of retailers to have a Google business profile page for each store or a consolidated page with listings for each store in it for an effective review management, especially? So I'm going to say that this is not maybe pertinent for today, but I would err on the side of having a different listing for each location.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have an opinion on this?
No, I'd agree. Every business, every address should have its own listing so that you are accurately representing that business and where it exists and going through the verification process so that you can manage that profile holistically.
Jason actually asked a question, which Jason answered directly. So Jason asked, Jason, how often will you scan the business? So Jason, do you want to share with us what you answered in the Q&A panel?
Yeah, absolutely. Michael touched on it in his overview, but for our customers' locations, i.e. the agencies that are the subscribers to the service, we audit those business listings on a 24-hour basis. So every day we're reviewing not just the new reviews you've received, but every review you've historically received to ensure they're still remaining compliant, because the contributor that wrote that review could have gone on to write more bad negative reviews or fake reviews that are then building up their suspicious profile that could be the tipping point that move what used to be a good review over into the suspicious category. So every 24 hours, we're reassessing and rebaselining your business listing. And then for competitors, we monitor those on a weekly basis. So on a weekly basis, we're auditing your competitors, all new reviews they've received, as well as their historical reviews as well.
Fantastic. We're already out of time. Thank you so much, Jason, Maury, Michael, for taking the time to walk us through this exciting news partnership. Please make sure that you sign up for the waitlist. We will definitely be in touch with you. I've learned a lot today. We'll be sharing also some thought leadership around how you can help manage the reputations and be proactive about fake reviews for your clients. Thank you again. We'll have our next webinar announced by email next week. So thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day and happy spring. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.